Good morning, hello and welcome everyone. I'm Andrew Tropin and I'm free and open source software developer, author of guix, home and RD projects, and also I usually do streams on various technical topics, mostly educational. And in this stream series we talk about development tools and practices, free and open source software, how to make a sustainable ethical business out of it. Also, we do usual developer duties like code review, maintenance, and development. And today we talk about mental health, motivation, and long-term projects, and also keep exploring test runners and test-related infrastructure in scheme languages. Okay, let's start from a brief talk about mental health and motivation. The topic or title of today's streams is having fun, and it is very much important, in my opinion, to enjoy what you do, for many reasons. And if you keep doing some work and force yourself to do it without actually enjoying it, you will easily burn out and get a lot of problems with your mental health and motivation. So it's a good idea to make your work more enjoyable and to try to keep it this way. There are a lot of different tricks, techniques, and approach that you can use to achieve it. For example, here I have a quote from Curl OC URL developer and maintainer. He shares his idea on how to keep motivation and keep work on a long-term project continue. And it's actually a good one. I also recommend to read the whole book. It's on curl dev. It shares some insights about running, maintaining, and developing a long-term open source projects, and Zaftar shares his experience. He probably does it for 30 years or so he have something to say, and I read the whole book, enjoyed it, and I get some insights. Not very radically changing the way I do something, but still useful for me. And many thoughts are just a structured rephrasing of my own ideas. So I share many of the theses which are presented in this book. So I really suggest you to take a look if you somehow related to free and open source software. Personally, I use many different techniques to keep my motivation up. Sometimes I do less work. Sometimes I switch between projects. For example, I usually have a few projects in parallel, and in each project I have a few different tasks or milestones. So if I don't enjoy what I do, if I don't enjoy code review, or I don't enjoy the task I need to accomplish, I just switch to another one. And it helps to keep myself motivated and interested in the project. Sometimes I just do different activities other than programming, development, and computing. I go to work out, to the walk, meeting new people, hanging out with friends, and so on. You know, it sounds very basic, but it's actually important, and sometimes I underestimate the importance of such things and can sit on the project for weeks without going outside, and it affects very negatively my own state, but also it decreases my productivity and project development in general. So I encourage you to be careful with yourself, to keep track on your you know to keep listening to your feelings, to your perceptions, and react somehow to it, and to keep yourself motivated, healthy, and interested in what you do, and actually enjoy streaming and enjoy development. So I keep getting fun from what we have here, and today we will continue work on our test runners, and we'll try some new test runners created by other people and see how they looks. So let's get to some work. Hi Andres, hi everyone, nice to see you here. Actually, the new colors for nicknames looks interesting. I am not sure if they're related to updates in Modus theme, but probably, very likely, they are. Okay, what we have here, we have a file called tmp scm in test directory, and we already have a lot of stuff here. Oh, actually I need a different file. I need a init test scm. And here we have test runner OK, which is used by default, a lot of links, some simple tests to check the output of test runner, and a lot of comments with commented code. Let's see what we can do, what we can start from. I would like to start from adding one more test runner here by just copy pasting it from the source code of another project, and see the output of it and how it looks. After that, I think we will clean up this namespace. We'll move test runners to a different model, and maybe even write some real tests for our project, or maybe we'll continue exploring the possibilities, how to make an actual development workflow more fluent, to shorten the feedback loop, and to make it easier to run tests and use them in our day-to-day development. The important part about running tests, we need to have an ability to run tests for a particular model. Ideally, I would like to have an ability to run an exact test, so we can do it in a very atomic way, for example, when we test only one feature. But running test for one model is also good enough, and we can live with it. But every time running test for the whole project doesn't look appealing to me, because it will take more time. It will make the feedback loop longer, and will decrease our productivity, because in most cases we have a pure functions which can be tested separately. So it would be cool to run tests on model basis, or even to run individual tests. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how hard to run individual tests, because they actually not a special entity, but just a list of imperative statements. So we can wrap them in functions, or we can wrap them in test groups and try to launch only those test groups. So it can work. We'll see. But let's start from experimenting with other test runners, just to see if they're prettier and have nicer output than our current, or we will just keep our simple test runner that we implemented earlier. I found guile proba project, which actually a guile test runner, and it has very neat website, but I don't remember the address. Let's see what we have here. Whoops, website. It looks quite nice and stylish. This is a screenshot of proba. And you can see that it can be used not only from as a command line utility, but also it can be used by API, which asks to run tests. Probably tests is a directory where we are looking for tests. So maybe we can take a look at how it implemented, maybe borrow some ideas from it, or maybe even borrow some code from it. But anyway, let's start from actual test runner. Let's clone the whole repository so we can navigate locally. Make it. I need to get somewhere a second screen so I can see new comments on it, and I won't need to switch between my working project and chat to see if new messages appeared here. Probably I can use my phone for this purpose, but okay, let's do it. Not right now. Okay. Here we have a project, and inside this project we have a few directories. We can see that proba directory is inside root directory, and that means guile load path used for this project will be pointing to the root of the directory, and it will be necessary to be careful with SCM files somewhere in the nested directories. And also we have tests here, which actually don't define any models, so they just standalone scheme files. And from one point of view, having tests as standalone models is something meaningful, but I prefer to have tests to be on the load path. I mean, to make each test namespace to have some model defined, so we can reference it, so we can launch tests for some specific model, and also we can find tests for a current model. For example, I have some naming convention, adding test minus test at the beginning of the at the end of the file name, and it will be easy to switch between tests and actual model which implements the functionality for this test back and forth. And if I need, I can add a tests directory to the load path, so it's available in REPL. And if I need to build a project, I can just use my usual src directory with all the source code, but without tests. So it's this idea looks more appealing to me, the structure of the project, than having all the source code be in your repository and to make guile load path to point to the root of the directory. But it's not a big problem. It's also a viable option, but I prefer the different one. Okay, let's see what we have here. Custom test runner, file name, return value. Okay, it looks pretty simple, and it outputs to text file, but probably I would like to output it to stdout, so I can print it in some buffer and see result in the buffer. Also, we see that it's probably a colorful test runner according to this one. What is text test report? Probably it's something defined in templates. Okay, it's quite huge and well documented. It's a little harder to just copy paste it and see how it works, because it's still a lot of code that we need to transfer carefully from one project to another and be sure that all the dependencies are satisfied. We have for string utils. Is this model available out of the box? And we also have term NC color. Let's take a look at what we have in manifest. We have guile contrib, guile lib, and for. Okay. That means that our test runner will require some additional libraries to be available. Okay, it's possible to add manifest and to launch guile REPL in the environment where those libraries are present. But I'm not sure if I want to spend time adjusting the development environment for RD project to make it easier to specify a list of additional packages for the REPL. Okay, we actually know how it looks according to the screenshot. It looks neat, nothing too much special. And I guess we can just explore the implementation and see what parts we can borrow and use in our test runner to make it easier to run tests more in more atomic way. Hi, Advox. Okay, let's start the REPL. I need guix REPL. We have REPL and we can connect to it. Nice. We are inside the REPL and let's run our namespace. We have some output. Whoops. We have actually last time we explored test apply function, and I still not sure how it works. Let's maybe take take a look at the implementation. If the first argument is test runner, it calls test with runner first, apply test apply to rest. Okay, that means that at some moment the first argument won't be a test runner, and then we will go to this branch of the condition. If we have a test runner, we make a run list. What is run list and how it works? I don't know actually, but okay, if we have an empty rest, we set run list to the reverse value of run list, and we call first. First is actual procedure. Okay, else if the run list is not empty, test runner run list will be set to some value, and this value in case run list is equal to true, then we take first and make list out of it. Otherwise, we add a run list to the end of the first. And we apply test apply to the rest. Okay, let's get back to our file. How it called? Yep, this one. And let's see what we have here. We have test apply and lambda. And let's see what we have in the documentation for test apply. We have runner, specifier, and procedure. And inside this procedure, let's print test runner. And run list is equal to procedure. Can we have a bunch of a bunch of such things, and our run list will become longer when we actually come to the running tests. But let's see what the value of the test runner. Oops. After we see the test group. It's nice that we have a source location for procedures that are defined here. The documentation says that we calls procedure with no arguments using the specified runner as the current test runner. Okay, if runner is emitted, then test runner current is used. It's okay. If there is no current runner, one is created as in test begin. It's okay. The test is run if any of specifiers are matched, and if you don't have any of them, if one or more are listed, and if 0 listed, what happens? Whoa. Now I see. Test match name does work, but for nested tests it doesn't. I'm interested why. Okay, I know why, because test group is not executed. So we need to say something like test group here. We finally figured it out how test apply works. Whoa. I don't like such behavior. When I comment out test group and the test group is skipped, we don't have output for this one. Okay, but this is a progress anyway. I'm not sure what is the use case for this function, but at least we much better. We have explored SRFI64 much better, so we can continue our work and make something cool. Hi, John Miller. I will take a small break and we'll come back. Break. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Here we go. Let's continue our work. What I would like to do first is to create a separate model for test runners, and let's call it RD test runners SM. Good. We have the model. Let's take a test runner, cut it, move it here. Very nice. Let's call it test runner default. Maybe later we will come up with fancier test runner and we'll use it. I evaluated this file and it works okay. Now we can... Actually, we don't need to export test runner here because we will do the other way around. We will use this file and we will load it from other namespace. We don't need it here as well. What else? We have a test suite and test apply. We don't need test apply, and I don't know the use cases for it yet. And also we don't need to reset test runner for sure, because it's not the responsibility of tests model. What those tests should do, this test model should contain only actual asserts and test groups. It still works. We have our test runner loaded in the memory, but do we have an ability to reload the model? The model guile. Okay, we have. We have reload model function. We have resolve model function. Let's see if we actually can do something. Resolve model. The model name RT serializers any test expecting pair. What is actual name here? current model. Okay, maybe it should be this. Expectant pair. I'm not sure how name should be pair. Maybe, you know, it expects a list. Yep. Okay. Okay, it makes sense. I just confused by the uh, name variable, name argument, so I thought it would be a string. But that it makes a lot of sense to be a list. Let's see. We have reload model. And we actually reloaded it. Very nice. But it means we still have test runner awk defined. But I would like to reload it completely, like from the ground up, so there's no tails of our previous experiments. If somebody knows how to clean up the model from all the stale references, let me know. Okay, let's write it down. To find out how to unload reload model properly, altering bindings. Let's just restart our REPL. Oops. And now it will fail. I mean evaluation of this model. Which is not something that I didn't expect. Boom boom. Whoop. Test begin hello. Okay. Now it compiles. Can we omit arguments to test begin? Okay, we can't. Let's say that's okay. It uses some predefined test runner, and it works somehow. It shows some result. And it even shows the place where it failed. And if we update it, cool. Oh, I see where it comes from. Let's disable any output. I was just confused why it prints something here. Here we go. But it still fails. Okay, because it's actually wrong. Cool. Now everything works as expected. We have some kind of very simple test runner built in, which is used by default. And now I would like to run the same tests, but with our custom test runner. What I will do here, I will use load, which is a macro which accepts a file. Do I really use load, which operates on files? Load. Okay, let's try it. We have our test serializers. Here. Let's try to evaluate it. Whoa. Now it's different test runner used here. What if we move it here and do okay, I didn't set a test runner default. Let's set test runner current to test runner default. Okay, how to manually set test runner? Okay, let's call it this way. Test runner create. Cool. Our test runner used for test group high, and we got it. Do you see it? Cool. Very nice. Very cool. We got what we wanted. We used our test runner, but for a different model, which is very nice. How we can use actual model instead of specific file? Can we use reload here? Reload model. Reload. Oops. Model. What was the function? Model. Resolve and resolve model RD serializers init test like this. Whoa. Looks cool. We built our test runner. We wrote a code which instantiates this test runner and applies it to a model which contains asserts. Looks like almost viable solution. Almost. So now we can define a function. Define tests for model and here we why it doesn't expand anymore. What happened? What the heck? I don't get it. This is why I don't like the text nature of source code, because it's so hard to operate and years of development of tooling for writing code fails in such simple situations. You know, the function which moves the bracket to the next expression should always work, and now it didn't work for some reason. And also expand region, which should mark as expression, didn't work as well. And this is a sign of complexity, of inherited complexity of all those abstractions based on text representation of the source code. I think we can actually do better in terms of storing and versioning and manipulating code. And I hope in the nearest future we will come to the age of structural editors instead of text editors, and it will be much simpler solutions and much more powerful. Okay, we defined model name, let's say, and let's use it here, model name. And now test for model name. Yeah, of course. And it works. Whoop. Let's call it test suite. Let's call it something like format testing. Let test name. Test group, testing model. Okay, we can call it model like this. Now let's get all the models on our load pass. Which contains test suffix. How to get a list of models? The idea is to just look at the source code. It doesn't open source code for ICE9 model. It's strange because we actually have it on load pass. If I can do this, models 9 pretty print, for example. Do we have it? Yep. Okay, I jumped to ICE9. Nice. Command list. Boot 9. Maybe we can find something here. We have a lot of stuff. Whoa, it's huge. Actually, even a list of functions will be quite long. I'm looking for some variable which stores all the models which we can access and probably inspect and find interesting models for us. The easy solution will be to use load and just traverse the file system and find all the tests in RT directory. I mean all the models with tests, and just load them. Too much code and hard to pick an actually interesting S expression for us. Okay, let's make a simpler implementation. Let's get all the files in this directory, in the tests directory, and just run them. Probably in guile proba we can find something interesting. Comments, maybe comments. Oh, I see I see the same approach used here. Test begin for each test file, load test file, and where we get test files value. Directory, canonical path, discover tests, and we have a discover tests function here. Let's just take it as it is. Whoops. Enter string suffix, I would say. It will be like this. File system fault. File system fault. Wait, it's defined ICE9 FTW. Oops. Okay. Discover tests. Discover tests. We got a list of tests. Actually, we got two values. A list of tests and some hash table, which contains something else. Let's see what file system fault returns. Okay, let's take a look what we have in engine X tests. Oh, we don't have too much here, so it should be okay just to run them. Okay, that means, let's see one more time what we have. It's interesting that it starts from root of the repository, and it includes tests. Oh, okay, it's obvious. It is because we launched REPL in the root of the repository, so discover tests use it instead of the directory of current model. but you know, not a big problem right now. We'll figure out what to do with it later. We can copy it for file. It's a little fragile solution. Tests for file. Map display. But we're still experimenting. Okay, so it's better. Nice. And now let's call what we have, run tests for file. Run tests for file. No such file or directory. Okay, and load function expects file path relative to the current model. Let's see the documentation for load function. And primitive load okay, probably we need a primitive load then. Primitive load. Yay. Cool. Test group file ini tests and nginx test. Cool. We have a test runner. We have a test report for this test runner. Maybe maybe we can do one more trick. Test begin project. Project tests. Okay. Okay. We actually create a separate test runner each time. Whoa. Now we have one test runner running all the project tests, and we can follow the hierarchy of test groups. It's obviously not very pretty, the output, and not easy to follow, but at least we have some hierarchy, we have the result of the test, and we have an ability to navigate to the code. Okay, we don't have it because it's relative to the root of the project, but okay, now we have. Now we can navigate, but I had to change current working directory. And navigation to source code is also works, and we can see which test case failed, which is pretty good. We cleaned up the code a little in our ini test namespace, and let's move all those comments to this namespace, and we'll clean up it later. And our test namespace now looks much better. Just a list of test groups and asserts. And now we can actually use some RD models and actually test some RD code. But let's postpone it for the other day. Today we did already some work, and it's almost 1.5 hours. Okay, I think that's it for today. And as a conclusion, I would say take care of yourself. And it's not just a friendly phrase, but an actual piece of advice. To make a really cool project, you very likely spend a lot of time on it. And it is a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to keep your motivation, productivity, your health good enough for a very long period of time. So take care of yourself and be a happy person who enjoys what he does. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you in